In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold.
The blessing of the 12 tribes. When Joseph and his 2 sons left Jacob, his brethren, envious of the bountiful blessings bestowed upon the 3, said, "The whole world loveth a favorite of fortune, and our father has blessed Joseph. This because he is a ruler of men." Then spoke Jacob, "They that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. I have blessings for all." And Jacob summoned his sons from the land of Egypt and bade them to come to him at Ramses first, however, commanding them to make themselves clean, that their blessing he was about to bestow might attach itself to them. Another one of his commands was that they were to establish an academy by the members of which they were governed. When his sons were brought into the presence by the angels, Jacob spoke, saying, "Take heed that no dissensions spring up among you. For union is the first condition of Israel's redemption." And he was on the point of revealing the great secret to them concerning the end of time. But while they were standing around the golden bed whereupon their father lay, the Shekinah visited him for a moment and departed as quickly. And with her departed also the trace of knowledge of the great mystery of the mind of Jacob, for he had the same experience as his father Isaac, who also had a loss of memory inflicted upon him by God to prevent him from revealing the secrets at the end of time to Esau, when he summoned him to receive his blessing.
The Abracast. Occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Recording deep below the sublevels in Isolation Room Alpha in the Stigmata Studios building in Quarantine Zone Charlie, in the steel buckle of the Rust Belt, recording from the People's Republic of Pennsylvania. I am John Towers. John, the COVID-19 Towers, and this is the Abracast. I feel like we're doing something very epic this evening. I'm loose, I'm in a good mood, but I feel like we're doing something epic because since the beginning of this show, the current incarnation of the Abracast, since the very beginning, we've been doing these Genesis episodes. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, it might be a long one. I might cut some shit out, but this is going to be the last Genesis episode ever for a really long time. I can't say ever, I suppose, because it's such a rich text and we get into it and I write so much about it, and the couple books that I've written and stuff, it always comes back to it, and it's my jam. You know, you run into people that were raised Southern Baptist and stuff, and they talk about, you know, the book of Revelations. St. John of Patmos in his book of Revelations. And that's great. Like, I like all that, as incoherent and just silly as that book is. I had my turn with Revelations, but I identify myself much more as a Genesis guy. And this is why, right? I mean, this book is so packed full of crazy bullshit. How can you not love it? So we love it. I love it. And I'm happy to say that I dragged us through it. You know, we just had our anniversary, and I dragged just kicking and screaming. Sometimes it seemed like it through it. All right, so enough of this. Let's get to this. Enough of this hullabaloo. And I got to apologize for my cat Edgar sneezing out here in the background. He does not have COVID-19. He's just always been a sneezer. So with that, let me thank my Subscribe Star and Patreon supporters. You know, Patreon just had a huge court case leveled against it. I don't know how long it's going to be around. And this whole thing started like a year and a half ago with Patreon kicking conservative people off. And I was never seriously like, oh my God, what if Patreon kicks me off? But they put themselves in a situation where they're open to, God damn it, what's it called? Horseist interference, where they're getting, I don't know, I don't want to get into the whole thing, but I would not be surprised if Patreon doesn't exist in, a year or so, or it's going to look radically different. But with that being said, thank you to the people that are currently supporting on Patreon and Subscribe Star. And Subscribe Star is always a safe bet for you guys that are like, fuck Patreon, I don't want to have anything to do with it. Subscribe Star is a safe haven bet for that. For an alternative. So the reason I got into Subscribe Star was I needed a safe place to archive. I thought that one of the reasons I thought my computer was going to crash. And I was like, well, if I just keep archiving episodes, eventually they'll get all on Subscribe Star, and Subscribe Star is never going to remove them. They're not like Patreon. They're not bootlicking fucking lap dogs to China. So thank you to I keep getting off derailed. Thank you to Patreon and Subscribe Star supporters. Without you guys, literally, I couldn't get anything done at all. I just sent a bunch of fulfillment stuff out today. So thank you guys. I'm able to provide this cool swag and stuff because of you. So I appreciate it. Yeah, and also I'd like to encourage you guys. Always need help. Always need support. So if you can't afford it, I get it. But if you can't afford it and you like the show and you get some content and whatever, make you think about something or whatever, this little book club, whatever, I don't know. And, so thank you guys so much for the help and the support, and I do appreciate it. And let's see, in that vein, something in that vein. I just got to mention that we have a perk this month in August. We have a Patreon and Subscribe Star perk, and that is the Wizard card. So I feel like I talked about this quite a bit already. But you're actually getting a physical card that matches my tarot card deck that's now available on the website Advertise.com. So you get this additional card, and it has to do with Aleister Crowley and the Thoth deck and the Three Magicians and all of that other kind of stuff. I kind of explained it ad nauseum for the last couple episodes, so if you want to hear about it, go back. But I'm already dealing with a long episode, so I need to fucking get into it. I know, you're looking at me like, damn, you're good mood, buddy. Let's just fucking go and get into this shit. And I hear you, Cyrus. So because of the last episode, I had to revisit my wrong sun, wrong blessing, wrong curse, magic underpants infographic. I published the latest, and I think the final version of it in the Fulgar Correspondentia. It's the fancy name for the mailing list. The newsletter just went out Friday, the last day. It goes out the last day of the month. But if you sign into the newsletter, you get access to like this kind of secret squirrel part of the website where I post all this stuff, so you have access to it whenever you need it. So if you want access to this Wrong Sun, Wrong Blessing, Adam's Magic Underpants infographic, that's what you got to do to get it. Or, this subscribe to our Patreon supporters have access to all that stuff too. That being said, we'll get back into it. We're actually, we usually just settle on Ginsberg's Legends of the Jews and Genesis for these episodes. So we're in the Legends of the Jews, obviously. The accident made Jacob apprehensive that his sons were not pious enough to be considered worthy for the revelation concerning the Messianic era. And he said to them, Ishmael and the son of Keturah were the blemished among the issue of my grandfather Abraham. My father Isaac begot a blemished issue in Esau. And I fear now that among you, too, there is one that harbors the intention to serve idols. The 12 men spake and said, Hear, O Israel, our Father, our eternal God is the one only God, as thy heart is one and united in avouching the Holy One. Blessed be he to be thy God. So also our hearts one and united in avouching him, whereto Jacob responded, Praised be the name of the glory of his majesty forever and ever, and the Lord of the ages upon the ages. And although the whole mystery of the Messianic time was not communicated for the sons of Jacob, yet the blessings of each contain some reference to the events of the future. These were the words addressed by Jacob to his oldest son. You know who it is. The sandwich meister. Reuben, thou art my first son, my might, and the beginning of my strength. With your sauerkraut and your Thousand Island dressing. Lo, and your Swiss cheese, and your marble rye, toasted, fried up in a pan. Thy portion should have been 3 crowns. Thou shouldest had the double heritage, oh my God, of thy primogeniture, and the priestly dignity upon the royal power. But thy reason of thy sin, the birthright, is conferred upon Joseph, kingship upon Judah, and priesthood upon Levi. So this is the fracturing. We've been talking a lot about it, right? We've been talking about this alchemical idea of you have to get the prime material, you have to break it down. You can't just have all of these things all together. You have to separate them, and you have to break them down. And this is him going through and being like, okay, well, I got 12 sons. This is what the 12, they're going to be the head of their 12 tribes, and this is what it's going to be. And the reason I'm mentioning all of this is because this ties in to the priestly and the kingly lines that we've been talking about almost throughout this whole thing. As soon as we wound up in World War Zero and we were talking about Melchizedek, right? The priesthood of Melchizedek. We've been talking about this unification of the priestly and the kingly pillars and all the misfires. They've been trying to get these fucking lines together. The Temple of Solomon was a combination of these priestly and the kingly lines, and then before that even maybe Metatron, Enoch, who got taken into heaven and given a divine angelic power armor, the hermit card of my tarot deck. This was perhaps attempt to combine the priestly and the kingly lines. And then, this thing, it happens over and over and over again. And, if you're a Christian or you get into the New Testament, the good news, Jesus Christ, is the connection of he's a rabbi. They call him rabbi, but they also call him king of the Jews when they hang him up. So he's also this combination of this priestly and kingly line that we trace. There's also I also included an infographic on the Fulgar Correspondentia. It's called like the Melchizedek theory, when I trace a lot of this stuff. I mean, I stop at the Old Testament, but you can carry it forward as much as you want when you look at it. It's something that goes back to Cain and Abel. I forgot to mention that. So back to the text. My son, I know no healing remedy for thee, but the man... Oh, so this is this thing he's talking about, how he's going to see the events of the future. This is, in this last few episodes of these Genesis episodes, we've been talking about this Quentin Tarantino-esque time slippage. It's non-linear. And here, he's going to be talking about, this is it. We do a time jump. But the man Moses, who will ascend to God, and he will make thee whole, and God will forgive thy sin. I bless thee, thy descendants be heroes in the Torah, and heroes in war, though thou must lose thy birthright. Thou wilt thou be the first to enter into the possession of thy allotment in the Holy Land, and in thy territory will be the first of the cities of refuge, and always shall thy name stand first in the list of the families of the tribes. Yea, thou shalt also be the first whose heritage will be seized by the enemy, and the first to be carried off away into the lands of exile. After Reuben had his, quote, ears pulled, unquote, and his sauerkraut fried, am I right? Thus he retired, and Jacob called the son Simon and Levi to his side. And he says, Simon, to you, you're going to get all your stuff. And Levi, I'm going to give you blue jeans. And on his side, he addressed them in these words, Brethren, ye were of Dinah, but not of Joseph, whom you sold into slavery. The weapons of violence wherein you smote Shechem were stolen weapons. For it is not merely for you to draw the sword, that it was Esau's portion. To him it was said, By thy sword shall thou live. Into the council of the tribe of Simon my soul will come when they foregather at Shittim. Shittim. That's really what it says. Shittim. To do. I wish I wouldn't have stopped. Foregather at Shittim to do vicious deeds. And my glory will not be united into the assembly of Korah, the descendants of Levi. In their anger, Simon and Levi slew the prince of Shechem. And in their self-will, they sold Joseph the bull into slavery. Accursed was the city of Shechem when they entered to destroy. If they remain united, no ruler would be able to stand before them. No war will prosper against them. Therefore, I will divide and scatter their possessions among the possessions of the other tribes. The descendants of Simon will many of them be poor men and will wander from tribe to tribe and beg for bread. And also Levi's tribe will gather its tithes and gifts from the others. So that's weird, right? Because we know that Levi is the priestly tribe. He goes on to, the Levites become religious functionaries. So is this Well, it is. I mean, he's saying they're going to gather their tithes and their gifts from all others. They're not being able to produce anything. They are at the will and the mercy of their, I don't know, parishioners or the religious, I don't know, audience. So it's interesting. He's tying beggars to the priesthood because of how they earn their living. It's interesting. I didn't expect to find that here. The words of Jacob, I will divide them in Jacob, spoke of Simon and Levi, who were fulfilled on Simon in particular. The 24,000 of Simon fell at Shittim. The widows they left behind married the husbands of the other tribes. Nevertheless, Jacob did not dismiss Simon and Levi without blessing them. The tribe of Simon was to bring forth the teachers and the bettles needed by all Israel, and Levi, the scholars that would expound the Torah and render decisions according to its teachings. When the remaining sons of Jacob heard the rebukes dealt out by their father to these three, they feared to hear like reproaches, and they tried to slip away from their presence. Eventually, Judah was alarmed that his father might taunt him with the trespass of touching Tamar. And Jacob spoke to him, Judah, thou dost deserve thy name. Thy mother called thee Judah, because she gave praise to God at thy birth. And so shall the brethren praise thee, and all will call themselves by thy name. And as thou didst confess thy sin openly, so also the descendants Achan, David, and Manasseh will make public avowal of their sin, and the Lord will hear their prayer, and thy hands will send darts after the fleeing foe, and thy father's sons shall pay thee respect. Thou hast the impudence of a dog and the bravery of a lion, and thou didst save Joseph from death and Tamar from her 2 sons from the flames. No people and no kingdom will be able to stand against thee. Rulers shall not cease from the house of Judah, nor teachers of the law from his posterity, until the descendant Messiah come from the house of Judah. And the obedience of all people will be unto him. And how glorious is Messiah in the house of Judah, his loins girdled. He will go out to do battle with his enemies, and no king and no ruler will prevail against him. The mountains will be dyed red with their blood, and the garments of Messiah will be like the garments of him that presseth wine. The eyes of the Messiah will be clearer than pure wine, for they will never behold unchastity and bloodshed, and his teeth will be whiter than milk, for they will never bite aught that is taken by violence. That reminds me of that. It's this awesome passage from Revelations where I guess Jesus returns, and they're like, and I think he comes from the east with a flaming sword coming out of his mouth, and you're like, oh, god damn, that's some heavy metal shit. Here comes Jesus with on a Pegasus, the winged horse flying, and his dress, his fucking tunic or something is just stained and covered with fucking blood, and he's like screaming, and this flaming this fucking flaming sword is coming out, and it's like a storm behind him, and it's fucking like raining, I don't know, locusts and fucking plague germs. Maybe that'll be my t-shirt for next month. Though Ishkar was the older brother, Zebulon came to be. Here. Even though Ishtar was the older brother, Zebulon, who was the wrong brother for the wrong order, got the wrong blessing, came next to be blessed. As a reward for the sacrifice he had made for his brother's sake, when Ishkar chose to study the Torah as his vocation, Zebulon decided to devote himself to business and support his brother with the profits of his trade, that he might give himself unto the law undisturbed. His blessing was that he would conquer the sea coasts as far as Zidon. Ishkar, said Jacob, will take upon himself the burden of the study of the Torah, and all the other tribes will come and ask him to decide their doubts on legal questions, and his descendants will be the members of the Look, they even go as far as to say this. Will be the members of the Sanhedrin and the scholars that will occupy themselves with the fixing of the calendar. So the Sanhedrin were the dudes that condemned Jesus to death. Pontius Pilate was like, I don't really want to have anything to do with this. What do you Sanhedrins say? And because everybody thinks this is not, I'm not going to turn into a pro-Jesus fucking thing all of a sudden, but what happened was the Sanhedrin, like, kind of were the Jew mafia, like, they kind of ruled everything, but they were like puppets, right? Like, the Romans were above them. But when Jesus came to town, when Jesus came to town, everybody's like, but Jesus was just peaceful and he just loved everybody. The first thing that he did is he went into the fucking temple and he start flipping tables over and fucking whipping motherfuckers. That's what kind of guy Jesus was. And these Sanhedrins were the ones that were like, yeah, we gotta do something about this guy who's running around saying he's the king of the Jews. Jacob blessed Ishkar also with the blessing that the fruit of his land should be exceedingly large. And this brought a heavenly as well as an earthly profit to train, for when the heathen to whom the fruits were sold marveled the rate. The Jewish merchants explained that their extraordinary size was due to the merit of the tribes of Ishkar, whom God rewarded for their devotion of the Torah. Thus, many of the heathen were induced to convert to Judaism. This reminds me of the story, Exodus, where it's not. Where they're scouting out Canaan, and they send the scouts in, and the scouts came out and they were like, dudes, these fucking fruits are gigantic. There's fucking grasshoppers here the size of fucking tanks. We don't know what to do. So I wonder if this has to do with that. That I write about that in my book, The Ages. The blessing, Dan, Jacob's thoughts were occupied chiefly with the descendant Samson. So this is another, we've been talking about time slips, but here's another clear one. Samson was a judge, right? Who, like unto God, without any manner of assistance, conferred victory upon the people. And Jacob even believed the strong, heroic man to be Messiah. But when Samson's death was revealed to him, he exclaimed, I wait for thy salvation, O Lord, for thy help is unto all eternity, while Samson's help is only for a time, the redemption. Jacob continued, will not be accomplished by Samson the Dananite, but by Elijah the Ganadite, who will appear at the end of time. Asher's blessing was the beauty of his women. So you want to hook up with an Asherite who would be sought in marriage by kings and high priests. In Nephalti's land, all fruits would ripen quickly, and they would be brought as presents to kings to gain royal favor for the givers. The blessing was fulfilled in the plan of Genseret, who at the time of Nephalti's blessing was the prophecy concerning the descendant Deborah, who was a hind let loose against Sisera to conquer him. And she gave godly words as her song in Israel's victory. Joseph's blessings exceeded the blessings of all of his brethren, and Jacob spoke, O son whom I bred up, Joseph, whom I raised and wast strong to resist the enticements of sin. Thou didst conquer all the magicians and the wise men of Egypt. We see this over and over again. We're going to see it in Exodus. The magicians and the wise men of Egypt. This is the Three of Wands card. By thy wisdom, thy pious deeds, the daughters of princes cast their jewels before thee to draw thine eyes upon them when thou didst pass through the land of Egypt. But thou didst not look their way, and therefore wast thou made the father of two tribes, the magicians and the wise men of Egypt sought to defame thee before Pharaoh and slander thee, but thou didst set thy hope in the Almighty. Therefore may he appear to me, El Shaddai, blessed thee and grant thee fertile soil and much cattle. May the blessings thy father giveth thee now, and the blessings that his fathers Abraham and Isaac gave him. They called forth the envy of the great of the world, Ishmael, Esau, and the son of Keturah. May all these blessings be a crown on the head of Joseph and a chain upon the neck of him that was the ruler of Egypt, and yet diminished not the honor due to his brethren. The slander of which Jacob spoke referred to, I forgot about this character, what Potiphar had said of Joseph before Pharaoh. He had complained, saying, Why didst thou appoint a slave whom I did buy for 20 pieces of silver? This is the captain of the guard, dude. I think we talked about him like maybe 2 of these episodes ago. Why did you make this slave the ruler over the Egyptians? Joseph had taken up his own defense, saying, When thou didst buy me as a slave, thou didst commit a capital crime. Only a descendant of Canaan may be sold as a slave. We've talked about this many times. There's an episode of the American Sermon that talks specifically about this. And I am a descendant of Shem, and a prince besides. If thou wilt convince thyself of the truth of thy words, do not compare me with the likeness of my mother Sarah, that Pharaoh had made of her. They brought Sarah's likeness, and verily it appeared that Joseph resembled his ancestress, and all were convinced of his noble lineage. All right, the blessing that Jacob bestowed upon Benjamin contains the prophecy that his tribe would provide Israel with their first ruler and the last ruler. And so it was, for Saul and Esther both belonged to the tribe of Benjamin. Likewise, Benjamin's heritage in the Holy Land harbors 2 extremes. Jericho ripens its fruits earlier than any other region in Palestine, while Bethel ripens them latest. The Benjamin's blessing, Jacob refers to the service of the temple because the holy place is situated in the territory of Benjamin. And when Jacob called his youngest son a wolf that raveneth, he was thinking of the judge Ehud, a great scholar, a Benjamite, who conquered Elgon, king of Moab, and also he had the mind of Benjamites that captured their wives by cunning force. Again, if he called Benjamin a wolf, Judah a lion, and Joseph a bull, well, that's all very interesting, right? It's astrological. Leo, Taurus, and the moon, maybe. He wanted to point to the three kingdoms known as wolf, lion, and bull, the doom of which was and will be sealed by the descendants of his three sons. Babylon, the kingdom of the lion, fell through the hands of Daniel, the tribe of Judah, and Media, the wolf, found its master. Of the Benjamite, Mordecai, and the bull, Joseph, will subdue the horned beast, the kingdom of wickedness, before the messianic time.
Learn more at abracast.com. Get bonus content by signing up for the mailing list. Get all that plus many exclusive episodes by supporting the show at patreon.com or subscribestar.com.
Hi, I'm Lisa. I like coffee, bonfires, walks on the beach, old books. But you know what I really like? The paranormal. Strange stories and experiences. Psychic phenomena. So, if you're interested, come join me and bring an open mind and a healthy dose of skepticism. And we'll see what happens.
The death of Jacob. After Jacob had blessed each of his sons separately, he addressed himself to all of them together, saying, "According to my power did I bless you. But in future days a prophet will arise, and this man, Moses, will bless you too, and you will continue my blessings where I left off." And he added, "Besides that, the blessings of each tribe should redound to the good of all other tribes. The tribe of Judah should have a share in the fine wheat of the tribe of Benjamin, and Benjamin should enjoy good barley, of Judah. The tribes should be mutually helpful to one another. Moreover, he charged them, this is the big boy right here. He charged them not to be guilty of idolatry in any form or shape, and not let the blasphemous speech pass their lips. And taught them in order of transporting his buyer. Thus, Joseph, being king, shall not help to bear it, nor shall Levi, the king and the priest, who is destined to carry the ark. Ooh, listen, they call it the Ark of the Shekinah. So the Shekinah is traditionally the female aspect of God. This is what the Catholics turned into the Holy Spirit. The Father, the Shekinah, and the Son. You see what I'm saying? Actually, we even talked about it earlier in this episode. Where was it at? It was in the cold open. Listen to how the Shekinah is described. for union, its first condition of Israel's redemption was that he was the point of revealing the great secret to them concerning the end of time. But while they were standing around the golden bed whereupon their father lay, the Shekinah visited him for a moment and departed quickly. And with her departed also the trace of all knowledge of the great mystery from the mind of Jacob. So the fact that he calls it the Ark of the Shekinah here is pretty interesting. Judah, Ishkar, and Zebulun shall grasp it from its front end. Reuben, Simon, and Gad, its right side. Ephraim, Manasseh, Benjamin, its hindmost end. And Dan, Asher, and Naphtali, its left side. And this was the order in which the tribes, bearing each its standards, were to march through the desert, the Shekinah dwelling in the midst of them. Shekinah business is always fascinating to me. Jacob then spoke to Joseph, saying, And thou, my son Joseph, forgive thy brethren for their trespass against thee, and forsake them not, and grieve them not. The Lord hath put them into thine hands, and thou shouldest protect them from all the days against the Egyptians. Also he admonished his sons, saying that the Lord would be with them if they walked in his ways, and he would redeem them from the hands of the Egyptians. I know, he continued, great suffering will befall your sons and your grandsons in this land if you will obey God and teach your sons to know him. He will send you a Redeemer who will bring you forth out of Egypt, the land, you into the land of your fathers. The resignation of the will of God. Jacob awaited his end, and death enveloped him gently. Not the angel of death ended his life, but the Shekinah took his soul with a kiss. Besides the three patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, only Moses, Aaron, and Miriam breathed their last in this manner, through the kiss of the Shekinah. And these six, together with Benjamin, are the only ones whose corpses not exposed to the ravages of the worms, and they neither corrupt nor decay. Thus Jacob departed this world and entered the world to come, with the foretaste of which he had enjoyed here below. Like the other two patriarchs, and none beside among men. In another respect, their lives in this world resembled the lives in the world to come. The evil inclination had no power over them, either here nor there, wherein David resembled them. Genesis 50. 1. Joseph threw himself on his father and wept over him and kissed him, and Joseph directed the physicians in his service to embalm his father Israel. So the physicians embalmed him, and taking a full 40 days, for that was the time required for embalming, and the Egyptians mourned him for 70 days. When the days of mourning had passed, Joseph said to Pharaoh's court, If I have found favor in your eyes, speak to Pharaoh for me and tell him, my father made me swear an oath and said, I am about to die. Bury me in the tomb I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. Now let me go and bury my father, and then I will return. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear to do. So Joseph went up to bury his father, and all Pharaoh's officials accompanied him, and dignitaries of his court, and all the dignitaries of Egypt, besides all the members of Joseph's household and his brothers and those belonging to his father's household. Only their children and their flocks and their herds were left in Goshen. Chariots and horsemen also went up with him. It was a very large company. When they reached the threshing floor of Atad near Jordan, they lamented loudly and bitterly, and there Joseph observed a 7-day period of mourning for his dad. When the Canaanites who lived there saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, "The Egyptians are holding a solemn ceremony of mourning." That this was the place near the Jordan is called Abel Mizraim. So Jacob's sons did as he had commanded him, and they carried him to the land of Canaan, and they buried him in the cave in the field of Machpelah. This is where we've talked about this cave for quite some time. Where near Mamre, which Abraham had bought along with the field as a burial place from Ephron the Hittite. After burying his father, Joseph returned to Egypt together with his brothers and all the others who had gone with him to bury his father. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "What if Joseph holds a grudge against us and pays us back for all the wrongs that we did to him?" So they sent word to Joseph saying, "Your father left these instructions before he died. This is what you are to say to Joseph. I ask you to forgive your brothers the sins and the wrongs they committed in treating you so badly. Now please forgive the sins of the servants of the God of your father." When their message came to him, Joseph wept. His brothers then came and threw themselves down before him. Quote, "We are your slaves," unquote, they said. But Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. So then do not be afraid. I will provide for you and for your children." And he reassured them and spoke kindly to them. Joseph stayed in Egypt along with his father's family, and he lived 110 years, and he saw the third generation of Ephraim's children, also the children of Machir, son of Manasseh, were placed at birth on Joseph's knee. You see, I'm afraid of where this is going. And then Joseph said to the brothers, "I am about to die, but God will surely come to your aid and take you up out of this land." He promised an oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Joseph made the Israelites swear an oath and said, "God will surely come to your aid, and then you must carry my bones up from this place." All right, I'm going to flip to Ginsberg, Legend of the Jews here. Joseph continued. All right, so here's another little, I just built a time slip in. Joseph continued and told them the visions he had had, in which the future of Israel was revealed to him. And he closed with the words, "I know that the Egyptians will oppress you after my death, but God will execute vengeance for your sake, and he will lead you to the land of promise of your fathers. And ye shall surely carry my bones with you from hence, for if my remains are taken to Canaan, the Lord will be with you in the light. And Ben-Har will be with the Egyptians in the darkness, and take with you the bones of your mother Zilpah, and bury them near the sepulchre of Benal and Rachel." These words ended. He stretched out his feet and slept his last eternal sleep. And the whole of Israel mourned him. And the whole of Egypt was in great grief, for he had been a compassionate friend to the Egyptians too. And he had done good unto them, and he had given them wise counsel and the assistance of all their undertakings. Joseph's wish that his bones would rest with in the Holy Land was fulfilled when the Israelites went forth from Egypt. And no less a personage than Moses applied himself to its execution. Such was Joseph's reward for the devotion he had displayed in the interment of his father's body, for he had done all things needful himself, leaving naught to others. Therefore, so great a man as Moses busied himself with the realization of Joseph's wish. For 3 days and 3 nights preceding the Exodus, Moses hunted up and down through the land of Egypt for Joseph's coffin, because he knew that Israel could not leave Egypt without heeding the oath given to Joseph, but his trouble was in vain. The coffin was nowhere to be found. Surah, the daughter of Asher, met Moses, tried and exhausted in answer to her question about the cause of his weariness, and he told her of the fruitless search, and Surah took him to the river Nile and told him that the leaden coffin made for Joseph by the Egyptians had been sunk there after having been scaled up on the sides, and the Egyptians had done this at the instigation and with the help of the magicians, knowing that Israel could not leave the country without the coffin. And they used their arts to put it in place, and whereas they could not be removed. Wow, man, what a great story. I need to go write another book. This story is fantastic. Moses now took Joseph's cup, and he cut 4 flat pieces from it and engraved a lion on one of them, an eagle on the second, a bull on the third, and a human figure on the fourth. This is the... Oh my God. So when you sign into the mailing list, you also get access to this Google Doc that I've been writing. I've been changing it and adding to it constantly, but it has to do with the tarot card deck that I created. And in the tarot card deck, you'll see this. You'll see these, a lion, an eagle, a bull, and a human figure, as you do in the Weight Rider deck, and as you do in Thoth. Like, you see it everywhere or whatever. But I call them they're the machinery of the universe. Whenever you see these 4 figures in a card, it is a machinery of the universe card, because these 4 faces, these 4 heads, are 4 heads of cherubim, these angels that are in charge of running the universe or whatever. They appear, at least one of them appears in The Ages, a book that I wrote. So it's great that I just found him. I just found him right here. He threw the lion into the river, saying the same time, Joseph, Joseph, the hour of redemption of Israel hath arrived, and the Shekinah lingers here only for thy sake. The clouds of glory await thy coming. Thou wilt show thyself well and good, if not when we are clear from our oath. But the coffin did not appear. Then Moses threw the second plate into the water with the figure of the eagle. These are also astrological. They also tie into astrological figures, repeating the same words. But again, the coffin did not arise from the bed of the Nile, and there remained 2. Then he threw in the third plate bearing the figure of the bull, and he called upon Joseph a third time to come forth. Before the fourth plate, the human figure, the fourth invocation to Joseph, brought up the coffin in the surface of the water, and Moses seized it. In the joy, he bore it off, while Israel has been busy gathering gold and silver from the Egyptians. Moses had been thinking of nothing but Joseph's coffin. And in his happiness, he was great that he had been permitted to fulfill the wish of Joseph. During the 40 years of wandering through the desert, the coffin was in the midst of Israel, and a reward for Joseph's promise to his brethren, I will nourish you and take care of you, God had said, and as thou livest for 40 years, they will take care of my bones. In this time in the desert, Israel carried 2 shrines with them. One, the coffin containing the bones of the dead man, Joseph, and the other, the ark containing the covenant of the living God. The wayfarers who saw the 2 receptacles wondered and would ask, how doth the ark of the dead come next to the ark of the ever-living? And the answer was, the dead man enshrined in the one fulfilled the commandments enshrined in the other, and the later was written, I am the Lord God, he said. I am I in the place of God. Here it was written, thou shalt have no other gods before my face. And he said, I fear God, and here it is written, that thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. And therefore he did not swear by God, but said, by the life of Pharaoh. Here it is written, remember the Sabbath day. And he said to the overseer of his palace on Friday, slay and make ready the meaning for the Sabbath. And here it is written, honor thy father and thy mother. And he said, when his father desired to send him to his brethren, here I am. Although he knew not it was perilous for him to go. And here it is written, thou shalt not kill. And I am refrained from murdering Potnahar when Potnahar's wife urged him to do it. Here it is written, thou shalt not commit adultery. And he scorned the adulterous proposals of Potnahar's wife. And here it is written, thou shalt not steal. And he stole nothing from Pharaoh, but gathered up all the money and brought it to Pharaoh's house. And here it is written, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And he told his father nothing of what his brethren had done to him, although what he might have told was the truth. Here it is written, thou shalt not covet. And he did not covet Potiphar's wife. And on their arrival in the Holy Land, the Israelites buried the bones of Joseph at Shechem, for God spake to the tribes, saying, from Shechem did ye steal him, and unto Shechem shall ye return him. God, who is also solicitous about the dead bodies of the pious, is even more solicitous about their souls, which stand before him like holy angels, and do their service ministering unto him. Genesis 50:26. So Joseph died at the age of 110. And after they embalmed him, he was placed in a coffin in Egypt. Hey, the Fellow Craft episode this month is we're starting a series on Count Saint Germain. If you don't know who Count Saint Germain is, he's a dandy who was seemingly immortal. He liked jewels, art, and he was a politician and an ambassador, a diplomat. And he also had an elixir that would extend his life. And he was clever and funny too. We get into that. So that's the Fellow Craft episode. You get on the bottom floor. There's dozens of these Fellow Craft episodes. This is just the newest one. They're starting to Count Saint Germain. Also remember the August perk, which is the, operative tarot card. It's your wizard card. It goes right in there with your magician card. And spoiler alert, there'll probably be another magic user card coming up pretty soon. So with all that being said, please think about becoming a supporter on Patreon or Subscribestar, please consider signing into the mailing list, getting all that stuff too. And yeah, I'm John, and this has been the final Genesis episode. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I feel good. We ran a little bit long, but I think I covered a lot of shit. I actually found some shit that I'm very excited about that I never heard of before. I never realized this before. So here we go. I'm John. This is the Advertise. See you in a few days, suckers.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Send an email or visit us on social media to let us know what you think about this topic. And please remember to leave a 5-star rate and review.
Hey, did you learn something? Did you laugh? Supporting me is a way for you to be a part of the Abercast and ensure its growth and sustainability. It also means I can create a normal schedule for shows and bonus shows, as well as the exclusive Fellowcraft episodes. By supporting the show, you are not only a listener, but you are a part of the show. You supporting the show gives me a way to offer fun rewards as a thank you for showing your appreciation and support for our projects. Do you have an idea for a reward that you don't see? Let me know. My supporters are my partners. I currently pay for you to listen to the Abercast. Not only do I pay the hosting bills out of my own pocket, I volunteer my time and talent to each and every episode of the Abercast. The price of books, the time and resources of reading and researching, the massive amounts of gin and tonic needed, the equipment it takes to record the shows, the time and resources it takes to create the bonus material, and the cost to maintain the internet presence. Is it worth your support? I don't know. I'm proud of the Abercast, and I feel like I'm improving all the time. In addition to creating the show that you dig and that you are excited about, I also have a full-time commitment and other obligations. So why financial support? All of the supporters help me focus my time on the quality and development of the podcast. And what if you can't afford, $1 or $3 or $10 or whatever a month? Believe me, I get that. There are many degrees of support, but if you can't support the show financially, please consider leaving a 5-star rate and review on your preferred podcast app. And don't forget that you could sign into the mailing list and still unlock a lot of bonus content. Thank you. I cannot put into words how much it means to me that you listen to the show each time I post a new episode. Your feedback, support, and love of the stories that we talk about here is what keeps me going.